Hello, hello. It's Iris here with a layout for the Get It Scrapped creative team. For this assignment, we were using pom-poms on our layout. And I went to Michael's and I picked up this mix of purple pom-poms. And here you can see that this wasn't my first time doing this layout. Okay, so let me give you a little bit background on the story. This picture is of my daughter at our old in our old garden when she was really little, and she always loved all the purple flowers, particularly one called scabiosa. And it looks like little fuzzy pom-poms to me. It has a lot of little stamen. So when I was thinking about pom-poms, I remembered those flowers and I thought, well, I hadn't documented the story yet. And then I found the purple pom-poms and I thought, great. So what I did was I went looking for cut files and found these dandelion cut files from the Silhouette store, and I thought that looks just like the little stamen on the scabiosa flowers. Now, the file comes with a couple of shapes, and I ungrouped them and copied them over and moved them around to sort of frame the bottom and sides of a 12 by 12 canvas. And then I cut them out at first from that paper up above that you see. And I was halfway through the layout before I decided it had become a hot mess because I had attempted some mixed media. It just wasn't going well. So I restarted over. I cut the final background from Pink Paisley's Paige Evans Take Me Away paper. It's from that collection. And here I am backing it with some random purple paper I've had, oh, forever in my stash. I hardly ever scrap with purple. And it's weird because that same daughter there, that's her favorite color. I should scrap more with purple. So here I am removing the pom-poms from the old attempt. Now I have a tip about using these pom-poms. These are 1/2 inch diameter ones. And if you just take your scissors and snip about a quarter of them, you don't want to snip right through the middle because then it just falls apart into fuzz. But if you just snip off a quarter of it from one side, then it gives you a little bit of flat edge there, so that they don't stick up as much from your layout. And then I put it on with my favorite adhesive for this sort of thing is glue dots. Now I had cut those dandelions from that old purpler paper, and I cut it out of white. So here I was just sort of putting a few of those cutouts on the page to see if I liked that. I wanted to add a little more texture and dimension, but I was feeling like it was going to be a hot mess again. So I decided to keep it a bit simpler and just keep the cutout dandelions. And for the same reason, I didn't bother backing the stems with green or anything. I just kept it with the darker purple. It's not even a solid. It was a plaid paper. But you can't really tell because it's thin areas. So there I just went off to trim with my big straight trimmer. And I briefly considered using some of that discarded background, the purple one, as a frame, but I didn't want to deal with the fact that I'd done some mixed media on it. I went and pulled this green alpha. I thought that would be good because there's green in the photo. And then I just started playing with some ephemera that I pulled from my stash. Some of these are just cut butterflies. I thought that would go well with the garden theme. And you'll see me throughout the rest of this process video. I play around with a few different ephemera and stuff just to see what I would want to add for interest. But right here, I'm using this. It's sort of like it's almost like a rubbery fabric paper thing, these alphas. I don't even know what brand they are. I love them though because I also have them in black and they have just a really neat texture. But here I used the green. I thought that would go well, and I was struggling with the We Are Memory Keepers Thickers ruler. I thought that it would make it a lot easier to line things up, but I am actually struggling using this. Even though I put the thickers at the as far as close to the edge as I can, they still stick to the ruler more than coming off onto the paper, which is really disappointing for me because I used to have an alignment tool and the same thing happened. And I thought, well, this is new and improved, right? Nope, I still have issues with it. But when I put the title on there, I didn't like the way it looked. So I went off and searched for other alphas, and I hit upon this one. This one's from Freckled Fawn, and I loved just the loopy delicateness of it. It made me think of the delicate loopiness of the flowers. So when I pulled that black alpha, I thought, well, let me go for something else that I associate with delicate. And I think of black and whites a lot, and that's some Felicity Jane products. So I grabbed right behind the photo there, I believe it's just a piece of the back of journaling card, and so is this other one. The one has on top this little flower pattern, and the other one is the little dots. And I have flowers that have little dots on them. I thought that was perfect. And I really love how that black and white doesn't compete with all the background, because the background's it's busy in color, and I love the colorfulness of it. But uh, as soon as I tried these black and white papers on there, I thought, yes, this is what I needed. It needed to be, it needed some calmness. So here I am fiddling with the placement of those, and I don't know if you saw briefly there, I even cut a piece. Oh, here I am. I'm cutting off the areas that aren't showing from the photo behind the photo because I love the paper so much. I wanted to keep little snippets of it. And ephemera here, that little sprig is also Felicity Jane. That flare I felt was too dark. It was going to compete with everything. So instead of continuing with ephemera, I decided to go ahead and do my title, which is How Does Your Garden Grow? Sort of like a play on Mary Mary Quite Contrary. Since this is about my daughter and her garden, she actually wouldn't let the flowers grow because she kept pulling the new buds off. Anyways, so I decided not to use the thicker alignment tool this time, and therefore I had to fiddle around with the placement a bit. But in the end, I really love these delicate alpha stickers. I know I got several packs, and I like how it fills that space quite a bit. So then I move on to what else can I add to this layout? I grabbed this little label that I just cut out from also Felicity Jane. I like the green, worked really well. So I move it around to see, and I settle on adding it up there. And here I just I really wanted to add little hearts. I thought hearts would be cute, but that wasn't working out. So I kept moving things around, very briefly considered moving the title. And oh, there's another heart that comes up, and I thought, I'm still determined to add a heart to this layout in some way, shape, or form. So I cut this out, and I look around, and something about this layout just called for less to me. So I don't know when I finally I give up on the hearts, but I try other things. Oh yes, so then I decided, let me just go for the journaling. So I had written some of the journaling off to the top there. You see a scrap piece of paper. So I write out my journaling, which reads, your favorite thing to do in the garden is to pick the buds off the Scabiosa. I try to get you to pick the dead flower heads, but you always go straight for the new buds. And then I stamped the date on the tag, and I really pressed down so hard that it was darker than I had hoped for. So here I was like, oh, maybe I could use a different one, but in the end I used that green one. It is a little darker than I wanted, but that's okay. And I did find a flare that I liked. It says noted, and it's not calling too much attention to itself, unlike the other flare that I briefly considered. So I wanted to fill that space right under the journaling and nothing was going to work. So I just added a little more journaling that says, it's a good thing there are so many of them. And here I just tap down everything to make sure it's not going to fall off. And I'll show you a little bit of close up. Now some still photos are coming up. Please go by the Get It Scrapped blog. There's a post on pom-poms, and there's some really cute ideas for inspiration on using pom-poms in your layout with from all the creative team members. Thank you for watching this layout video. I hope that inspires you to use some pom-poms.